This is going to be the very last episode of the outdoor season. Coming right back to CBC where it all started back in May. 6 months and here we are. Can't wait to dive into this episode and actually do it justice this time. We got people skating around right now. It's a good day. It's a nice warm day in November. We don't get much of these anymore. After this episode, we're gonna start diving into all the indoor spots like Path. All the Path spots will get their own individual episode. And then we're gonna move into all the subway stations. All of those are also gonna get their own individual episode. We'll do York University. But with all that said, let's jump in.
So Union Station is actually just a couple blocks from here. That's where all the transit and stuff connects. CN Tower's right there, Sky Dome. One thing that's really cool about this spot, it's a plaza, so it's got everything. These bike racks here, you can actually move them. People place them right here. The person that I think of the most is Nick Svedicone, and he did a really cool nollie over this. And this drop reminds me of like the Philly can drops that they, like Chris Cole and like all those dudes back in the day, Brian Wenning, they would skate over the can from the drop. This spot here kind of always reminded me of that. Brandon Del Bianco, he's another person that I can think of that skated this. He did nollie frontside flip over one trash can. That was actually on Thomas Morrison's YouTube channel that he's actually here right now. Cole Hacker. Drop down 50180 and front Smith. Jed Anderson, he did ride on switch 50-50 in All City Showdown. And then he also did ride on 50-50 and then comes over, ollies up, and then 180 fakie manual on the gap over here, the pad. Tyler Pearson Mullen, he did ollie up, nose bonk, and then right over there, there's like a little wall thing. He did wally on the pillar. And then this past summer, during the Bunt Jam, when all the pros and shit came down here, Pedro Delfino was here. He did ollie up, nose bonk, and then did 5-0 down the bike rack, which is fucked.
Aiden Johnson, he did a really sick back Smith grind on this. JD Robinson in his part in Urie-Buxton, he nollie back heeled over 2 trash cans, broke his board on the first try. You got Simon Disher back in Perception, rolling deep, switch back 180 over a trash can. Jonathan Volpe, I think that's how you say his name. He tray flipped over a trash can off of this thing. In a drift, Stuck Up Kids, I can't remember who it was, but someone did a backside big spin over the trash cans as well. Wojtek Zawada, he nollie hard flipped over a trash can in Eulogy. Super good video. And don't forget guys, all the links are in the description below for all these videos as well. So definitely check them out if you haven't already. People also skate this in lines. Keith Simmons, he did heel flip over a bike rack and then comes around and does a nose grind 180. Justin Fabus, he started a line here too, does nollie heel off the drop, comes around, does a Wally Crook on the ledge, and then does a no comply 180. This didn't state your name, by the way. And then he goes around to the far ledge, that far marble ledge on the, not like where everyone normally skates it, but on the far end where it curves, does a switch crooked grind on it. Dan Bokma tray flipped the trash can. Thomas Morrison, he switch heeled over a couple garbage cans as well. Tim Bobness, he did tray flip over it and a nollie backside big spin. And then we have Alex Neary, who nollie inward heel, like the most buttery, perfect catch. You can hear the catch on it and everything. Best nollie inward heel over a couple garbage cans too. We come to this like gap to mani, gap to ledge situation. You know, it's not too big, like it's only that size, like a couple feet. Same height as like all these other ledges here that we're gonna get into. Not a lot of run up, so it's super drop and pop. The first one that comes to mind would actually be Cole Hacker in like an 09 part that he had, like an 09 promo. He does a gap to lip slide on it. I know Griffin Kirby, he did some really sick manual tricks on this. Does gap to manual, front shove, and he did gap to manual varial flip as well. And that's actually insane. Gap mani varial flip's actually fucked. Joe Yates, he did a really sick line filmed by Dan Everson. Does a gap frontside tail slide, drops down, does a 3 shove on flat, and then there's like a guy who's like running in the clip and almost cuts him off, and like, it always made me laugh. And then he just gets out of his way, keeps going around, hits up to the mani pad, the gap to mani over there, does ollie up and then front 180 to switch mani. Another really sick clip that comes to mind would probably be my favorite one was Mike Maines. He did nose mani nollie flip on it. We can cut through here. So these all have like plaques on them now. This guy died of asbestos. Man, your ceilings, definitely get that shit cleaned. Another one, asbestos. The reason why we're talking about this right now is because it's actually part of a spot that these flats didn't actually used to be on here. Mark Appleyard, he ollies the first one, and then he kickflips this flat gap, and then he keeps riding around. This is around 1996 as well. And then he hits a nollie flip off of the ledge. And then when you come over here, you have this like gap to pole, which is super sick. And only a few people have skated it. I know TJ Rogers, he did hard flip over this in his Bones part. And Enrique Lorenzo, I don't know if it was from like an actual video part or anything like that, but when he was in Toronto, there's that Streets Toronto by Sat Valung. Enrique Lorenzo did his backside flip over this thing. And it's actually not small by any means. You do have to gap out a little far and there's some impact behind it. There's probably been more tricks that have gone down on this thing. I feel like someone back-heeled it back in the day as well. And then this right here is also a really tall ass marble ledge, super rounded on the top too. Look how tall it is. Like it's past waist height. It's coming up just above my hip here. At the end of this one at least, I know Fabian Paisley, he did no slide big spin in one of Chris McMaster's videos. Max Plantis, he did Crook. You also got Matt Berger, he did backside 50-50 on it, and he also backsmithed it, filmed by Wade Power, which that's definitely one of the craziest things to go down. And if you walk this way, you have Lee Yanku who's done some crazy shit too. He did flat tricks, so here skating a line, he did frontside Smith grind on it. I think he did nollie flip on flat, and then frontside Smith grind on it. And then there's another line, front lip, and then like yanks out to fakie on it. And he was kind of saying it's a bit of a controversial grab. I thought that was kind of funny, but it's super gnarly, man. Paul Liliani, he had a sick clip on this where he does fakie flip on flat. This was in his green apple part, and then he does switch crook, pop out on it. Stefan Boca does kickflip on flat, and then ollies over the entire ledge, which I don't think anyone's done before. Then we come over here to this fucking gap that should not be a spot. And I know Alex Neary back in the day, he did try to ollie this and he didn't actually end up getting it, but just taking the length of this thing, like you could put like 2.5 of me across this gap, and it's not like it's tall or anything. Like yeah, it's just above hip height, but for a gap to the street, it doesn't have the height to really get you clearance to that road. So you gotta fucking fly out it. There's not a ton of run up that starts over there. But the person who I think of the most when I think about this gap is Dylan Moore. He's done kickflip on it, which is already insane as it is. Also tray flipped it. The tray flip was on Go Skate Day, so there's just crowds of people. When he lands on the road, I think his Jordache just gets all hyped and like throws something at the ground, and it's like the most hype situation. It's kind of fucking gnarly just to think that that actually went down in the middle of a Go Skate Day. But the backside flip being like one of his video parts, I'm pretty sure it's his ender in Life Jacket.
Yeah, dude.
We actually got Mike Crook who's going to be joining us as well. He's here. He's going to talk about some of the tricks that he's done. Yo, what's up, dude?
Yo.
How's it going? Good to see you. Dude, you fucking killed this spot back in the day.
Yeah, this is kind of one of those special spots, no bust. And so we kind of like took advantage of it.
What year were you guys like starting to come around this spot? Because I know like it wasn't like a big hot spot when it was first built. Like you guys were skating like Trinity and other spots like that, right?
Yeah, so like this was the first spot definitely for me. Like my first skate spot was here. So this kind of opened my eyes to like what skating was actually like, what street skating was. It was like, oh, let's warm up here and then go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And it was like almost like, I wouldn't say uncool, but it was like less cool to film here. The only things that was like really serious was like the mani pad. You can't really replicate that anywhere else, and it's pretty rare spot.
Speaking of replicating, actually, though, I do want to talk to you about that because you actually had a little bit of a play in Skate 2.
Yeah, so a buddy of mine, Josh Klein, good friends with him, and like Chad Dixon, at the time we were skating a lot together. He ended up moving to Vancouver and working for EA, and he just hit me up out of nowhere. He's like, take some photos of like the best spots in Toronto. Had no idea what he was talking about. Took photos of CBC and just a few other spots of like my favorite, TD and stuff like that. And then this ended up being in Skate 2 into downtown Plaza, and that was help with like the photos, and yeah, that's kind of how that happened. We're making a game called FakeSkate.
Yeah.
FS is kind of the official name. This is kind of a two birds with one stone coming down here today.
Yeah.
Is I'm actually finalizing measurements on this spot. Yeah, we're recreating Toronto, and that's kind of like our main map, and really fun to see all these spots and you doing all these videos. Definitely influences and it helps us and helps our map makers, because I can only say so much to them. Definitely helps influence our game quite a bit.
Is the game going to be like open world where you can go like from like you could skate from CBC up to like Unitel and then make your way up to Commerce? Like you could be able to do that, right?
Yeah, so like it's 1-to-1. So right now our scale is Dumbat down to HTO. And so it's massive. I can't really speak too much heavily in it, but like we have different traversal systems and how to get through the city. And I'll say that much, but it's more than just like kind of skating. It's more like we want you to go into the game and see other skaters at spots. We want to have the ability to see what are hot spots and like have these unique vibes to the city and kind of what we experience as skaters in Toronto.
Right.
And why I love Toronto and why a lot of skaters love Toronto too.
And I also want to like dive into like the tricks you've done here too. Like you've done a lot of crazy shit.
Toronto didn't have a skate park for many, many, many years. And so like this was our skate park. Rolling up for the first time, Mark Appleyard was here and Andrew Gordon was like a Grom.
So sick.
He was a little kid and he just got on flip.
Damn.
And so that whole era was happening. This sweater is actually from Apple. Meeting people like Dan Bohart here. If it wasn't for Dan Bohart, I wouldn't be skating. I would give him like $40 and he would give me a bag of stuff.
Oh,
and that was all from here.
He had
like,
some sick clips here too. I remember he did like a heel flip nose manny on the manny pad. Can I just start by saying my favorite one of you was the hard flip manny shove line.
I hard flip manny shoved it first. I wanted to be like kind of like the first person to like do a trick up.
Trick up, gap manny.
And so I did kick flip up, hard flip manny shove. But the big one for me too was like probably hard flip manny front one. That was my first photo published.
Yeah.
It was a sequence, Andrew Norton shot it. And that period too, like I was like half a filmer, half a skater. I didn't understand like what a career was. I was like really drawn into filming. So I filmed a lot. I filmed a lot here. There's a couple that stand out for me. One is like Joel Scullard. He did a varial heel manny front one. That was really cool to witness him do because it kind of broke his shell in my mind of his skating. He really pushed himself in that trick. And I really felt like that was probably one of his best tricks he's ever done. And it was one of my favorite tricks I've filmed. The other trick would be Carl doing a frontside flip manny 180.
A lot of the tricks that go down, like multiple people have done them in the spot where you don't get kicked out. People are going to come do what they can do. So I know like Jesse Tessier, he also did frontside flip manny 180 on it. Varial heel manny was also done by like Warren Ungen as well.
Yeah. I know like when I did switch big spin nose manny, that actually was really easy. That one like came like a couple tries.
What was the line again that you did when you ended up with the hard flip back 5-0?
Yeah, so that was filmed by Jason Delatraz, like rest in peace.
R.I.P.
Like super good homie of mine, a really good filmer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did half cab flip and then hard flip back 5-0 on the ledge.
You also did a half cab nose manny and ollie varial flip out.
Yeah, that one was the squirrely one. I remember fighting that one.
Yeah, you were like...
because I'm like half cab nose manning and being regular, I was going opposite of a turn. Back in the day, Safe and I used to work at a Drift when it first opened. I can't remember if it was me or him. He was like, man, we should go like bunt CBC 7 one day. I found like I switch heeled it. Like, I don't even remember it.
Pop shoved it as well.
And pop shoved it? Yeah, like I never really skated stairs and Noah switched tray on it, which was crazy.
Did you film that?
Yeah, so I filmed that and Noah's switch tray was like, I don't know what happened that day, but there was no security. I remember getting a good solid like 5 minutes in and Noah got us like switch tray, which was like huge. I was so stoked for Noah. Yeah, that was just incredible.
Respects again, bro.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
We're gonna get back into more of these spots and talk about a lot more tricks. There's still a lot to fucking go through, so let's get it. It's pretty cold out, so we're gonna try and kind of tackle through these tricks. But this whole curved marble ledge here, I'm trying not to get in the way right now because Bobby is trying to do, he's trying to film a line right now, so we're kind of staying a little bit outside of it, but we got the B-roll to kind of show you guys the actual spot itself. Speaking of Bobby, he actually did like a fakie flip switch manny across this whole thing, which is pretty wild to do. Like just fakie flipped up, landed and switch manny, just held the shit out of it. Did a super long one, popped out all buttery. Did it for like Instagram. There's a line in Thomas Morrison's Juice video. He has half cab nose 270 on the ledge over there, then comes around and does frontside half cab nose slide, big spin out. That was a really sick line, I like that one a lot. Drew Williams, he did front board 270 to lip slide in the Prodrome. Noah T, he did a sick line. He does switch front tail, pops up the crooked grind, which these ledges are like perfect for that kind of stuff. And then he comes around and does a nollie hard flip on flat after. Kirk Roach going back over to like that ledge to drop over there. He does back 180 over the bike rack, comes around, does a half cab flip on flat, and then does a frontside lip slide to tail slide. Nick Svetico, so like he set up a bike rack at the end of this ledge over here. He does a frontside 180 over it, Comes around, switch 180s over the bricks, and then does board slide 270 out on the ledge. Jesse Mullins has a sick line. He does switch frontside flip on flat, then comes around, does lip slide to tail slide on the ledge. And then he also, as a single, did frontside lip slide to tail slide, like shove out. Zach Ferguson, he did front crook on the ledge over there, and then tray flip nose slides the ledge in contact high. Tatum Dorder, he did a line where he does nollie nose grind on the ledge, and this is in State Your Name, comes around, does kickflip nose slide. You can actually see me sitting on the ledge. Neill Blackwood does fakie backside nose grind 180, and then goes around the ledge here and does kickback tail. And in that same edit, Will Filion does kickflip on flat, nollie flips right after, like lands in nollie flip position, and then does a nose slide, pops up to crook as well. Brian DeRoche, so on that far marble edge, because it's like a whole long ledge here, he does Wally Hurricane on it, like Slappy Hurricane, and then comes up and does like a Wally backside 50 on it as well, and it ends the line off with a varial flip on flat. Brian DeRoche has such a sick line. He does front tail, pops up to switch crook, pop out to fakie, and then goes around, and then on that far ledge over there, he does switch nose grind, fakie big spin out. Dylan Barnes, he does nollie 180 crook, 180 out, and then does a frontside nose slide, then pops it up to like a back 180 nose grind kind of deal. And then, yeah, he lands. I know he was really stoked on that line as well. That was a dope one. In Ben Patterson's RDS welcome part, he does backtail backside flip on it. And then I know Austin Marchand, he also did a front tail frontside flip on it as well. And then ends off his line with a fakie heel flip on flat. Austin Marchand, he also, back when he was a little younger, did front lip to switch crook as well. Chad Wilson, I think he was in a connect the dots edit 2015, I want to say. Front blunt, hard flip out to fakie. Yeah, he kind of puts his hand down on the ledge a little bit, but that is just so insane. Like, yeah, I got to give it to Chad Wilson on that one. That's one of the best tricks to go down. Ryan Lay, he did nollie frontside flip on flat, and then comes around to switch back tail, and then pops it up to like a regular front crook, and then body like breaks his back out and like goes back to fakie. Such a sick one. Lucas Franklin, so like a lot of people try to skate it like from brick to brick at this spot, and he does big spin front nose, like a nice super long big spin front nose. And yeah, he handled that shit, it was dope. Spanky, Kevin Long, he did switch nose slide, pop up to crook, or switch crook, half cab out. And then he also did it in a line, same trick, switch nose slide, pop up to crook, half cab out. And then he comes around and he does a frontside flip switch mani on the right side manual pad if you're coming this way at it. Ben St. Aubin in rendered. Probably my favorite trick to go down on the spot actually is the kickback tail, pops up to switch front crook on it, pop out to fakie. Shout out to Policelli as well, he actually sent a lot of clips for this video too. So on top of the mani pad, you can skate over the block. It's like a gap to block. Yeah, people have done some crazy tricks over it. The first one that comes to mind would be Colin Passy. He did a really good backside flip over it. Lee Saunders, he did switch ollie on it way back in the day. Nathan Brown, Gnarly Nate, he did a fast plant on it as well. I think Aaron Jones also did like a fast plant like 180 on it too. Warren Ungen in Oriette, he did frontside flip switch mani on it, which is sick because it's like it's not really a mani pad, it's more of like a bonk. I know Adam Mancini also had some pretty sick bonk tricks on it too. He did ollie up, gap nose bonk 180 in Streets Toronto, and also in Streets Toronto he also did gap kickflip nose bonk, which is pretty wild too. And speaking of like the nose bonk tricks, State Your Name, Cole Hacker, he ollied up and did like a frontside nose blunt kind of deal on it. Jeff Smith, I know he did like a line going back to like the bonks on that ledge. He did like a half cab flip on flat up there in switch takeover, and then makes his way down and then does ollie up and then gap nose bonk. Andrew Gordon, he heel flipped over it and did pop shove like Manny bonk on it as well. Matty Tamiska, he varial flipped over it. I know Aiden Johnston, he did frontside flip over it. Jake Stewart, he frontside flipped it, and so did Jesse Testier in fireworks, dancing, and cartwheels. Morgan Smith, he switch heeled over it. A lot of tricks went down on Go Skate Day 2019. Ben Patterson switch flipped it, switch heeled it. Go Skate Day, Zach Ferguson, he front shoved it. He did tray flip over it. It's been tray flipped by a couple people. John's also tray flipped it as well. Chipped Shins, I don't know his name. I know his Instagram name is Chipped Shins though. He did tray flip on it, hard flip. John Koss, he also frontside flipped it on a Go Skate Day. John Koss has also hard flipped it, I think, on every Go Skate Day that we've made our way to CBC. Zach Ferguson also regular front big spinned it. Cody Beaudry, he did late shove over it, kind of hands down, but Late shove's insane, dude. What the fuck? Cam Trahan, he did impossible over it. Dylan Barnes actually impossibled over it too in a Blue Tile Lounge Spitfire edit. Sean Shimada, he did varial heel flip on this. It's one of his last tricks in the local skate park that he shares with Bailey Seeger. Bailey Seeger, Go Skate Day 2022, Ryan Buxton's edit. He did ollie sex change over it. It's pretty crazy. Speaking of Go Skate Day 2024, the one that just passed, Max, dude, the homie. He was trying to skate it, everyone was trying to get in a sesh on this thing, and he just missed his ollieing up the mani pad and just kind of like lost his footing on his run and head first into the fucking block. It was gnarly, man. Brandon Foster, I know he also heel flipped this last year's Go Skate Day as well. Shout out to him. Ben Patterson, he did switch front big spin on it in his Transworld part. Brandon Del Bianco, he did frontside heel flip on it. It's really good. That's an Oscar material. TJ Rogers, he switched back 180 this in like an old 09 throwaway part, and then later on in his homecoming part, Red Bull, he big flipped over it, which, yeah, that one's fucked up. Big flip's insane. Cordano Russell, he did ollie over the entire thing, and then gap to nose blunt for Instagram. Justin Fabis, he switch pop shoved it. He also did switch front heel as well. And yeah, both of those are just nuts. There's like a bit of a different way you could skate it too. So like on the far ledge, like you can do like tricks up it. And the first person I ever saw skate it was Warren Ungen. He did a nose bonk on the far ledge, ollies up, and then crooks a garbage can. Some years later, I came and skated it actually. Chris McMaster filmed me do ollie up and then backside flip over a bike rack. So it's like the same part of the spot, but just a different way to skate it.
We got mani pads, we got ledges, we got everything here. A couple of the tricks that come to mind first is Mitch Donovan. Switch heel, fakie mani, fakie flip. Justin Behan behind the camera. Front shove mani, kick flip out, and that's honestly one of the crazier tricks I want to say, because like to be able to pop a front shove onto that, that's fucked. Jermaine Morris, and this was in Year of the Serpent. He did nollie flip, nose mani, nollie flip out. And then Morgan, he did switch flip, switch mani, switch front shove. Jay Brown, he also did that in Cadence Days, and I believe that was a more recent video. Jay Brown also did switch flip, fakie mani, front shove. Fabian Paisley did kick flip, nose mani, nollie heel. That was in the Always Rollin' video. And then he also did kick flip, nose mani, nollie big spin. I did mani varial flip. It took me 3 tries to get, and that's like for manual tricks and for myself, that's so rare. Morgan also did switch flip, nose mani, fakie tray.
John Koss, in State Your Name, he did a kickflip nose mani, front shove, or like back shove, back to nose mani. It's a hard trick, and it actually inspired me to want to try my trick here where I did the switch nose mani, fakie front shove to back to fakie mani as well. I've done a few tricks here, like I've done mani, kickflip mani. That was in the OCD video. I remember I got bit by a dog that day. It was definitely a weird day where I was skating with like this bleeding leg from a pit bull. Yeah, I literally got bit by a pit bull just up on Front Street. I still have the scar to this day. The same day I did the switch nose mani, front shove, fakie mani, I actually got bit by a dog on my arm. People were training a dog, they said I could feed him a treat. Well, they were training him, and he took the treat, and then he took a bite at my arm. I did 180 fakie mani, fakie front 180, filmed by Dan Everson. Kind of hated the way I did it because I didn't ride through the little hole afterwards. Daniel Kokon, he did nollie nose mani, nollie 180, just super buttery style. Reed Henry Vale, RIP, but he did the best manual tray flip on this thing. I always loved that dude's style. He had a really good tray flip, and doing it out of that mani was butter. Will Bartlett, he did kickflip nose mani, shove to mani. That was back in like 07. He actually did the same trick as me. He did pop shove on flat, then a nollie shove on flat as well. But then he comes around and he actually did that mani, kickflip to mani back in 2007. I didn't know it was done by him. Buxton also did nose mani, nollie 3 shove, like behind you. London legend, Dave Natiuk, I think that's how you say his name, it could be wrong, I'm probably butchering it, it's what I do. But he did some fucked up shit. Inward heel flip manual, this ender, and varial flipped out. TJ Rogers, he did nollie shove, nose mani, nollie flip in finesse. Noah Tynes, in a Drift 2012 edit, he did switch nose mani, fakie 3 shove on it. Just like the sick like lean back steez, that's sick, I like that one. Diego Rocco, he did nose mani, nollie tray. And then you also have Juan Osario. He skated a little differently. He skated this mani pad here. He kind of like curved, came in through here, then out that way. He did nose mani, nollie varial flip. Josh Edwards probably did one of the most fucked up tricks you could think of. He did 180 switch manny, revert to nose manny, nollie big spin out. If you come over here, like people skate over these blocks too. I know Scott Pommier, photographer, he nollie pop shoved over this from flat. And then Glencoe Hoggle, the third, does nose bonk on this in the latchkey edit, and then backtail shoves on this little inside ledge, which doesn't get enough love. Cyrus Thompson, he did show some love to this spot with skating over that first block on just the opposite side there, and then back on 80-50-50ing this thing, and like, it's a super low ledge, but it's tasteful, man. I like this thing. I actually want to skate it myself. Then we come up here to the gap to Manny. This is probably like the most famous part of the spot, I want to say, besides like the ledge lines that have gone down. This is like the spot. What really sucks about it though, is this 3-inch crack. This thing will fuck you up. And we have clips of like people accidentally riding into this thing and fuck themselves up. Or even people like clipping, like ollieing up and then going into the keyhole. Like Mitch tried to skate this thing. He was trying to switch nose manny to switch nose manny again. And he like clipped on his way up and he ran and fell straight into the hole. I know Scott Power, Marcus Colhoun, they both ate some shit where they like clipped on the mani pad and fell over. So like, it's a mani pad, but it's got some danger factor to it. JD Robinson, back to Oriette days. He did switch front big spin manual on this. That's actually been in a couple times. Jamie Bennett, he did it with a backside 180 out, switch front big, back 180 out. Matty Tamiska, he did a switch front big spin Manny back 180, I believe. Aiden Johnston, in the intro for Environment, he does late flip to manual on it. Morgan Smith, he did tray flip Manny in Environment with like a sick like lean back steep. Arno Botha, he kick flipped up and then did tray flip Manny. Jesse Landon, he did tray flip nose Manny on it. Morgan Smith did switch front heel Manny back 180 out. He also did switch front flip Manny in a blind Sunday fun day. Dude, in social withdrawal, Morgan does like the sickest switch backside flip manual front 180 out. Grant Patterson did hard flip Manny in Environment. If you haven't watched our first CBC video, this was one that I was super bummed that we left out, but Wade Desarmo, he did switch Manny, switch flip to switch Manny again. Nick Genova, he did back 180 fakie Manny, fakie big flip out, and he done a lot of stuff at this spot. He did inward heel flip manual shove it out. If you come over here, ollies up, ollies the gap, and then on this one, does gap to front lip, big spin out. You know, we're gonna come back to Nick Genova in a sec, but Alec Majerus, when he was in Toronto, he actually skated it too and did front blunt to fakie on it the same way. Nick Genova, again, he did kickflip Manny, gap to Manny, front shove out. Did gap front lip, comes around and then does a nollie flip on flat, and then goes around again, comes back to the Manny pad and does back 180 to fakie Manny, big spin out. In BL2, he does backside big spin to fakie Manny, half cab out. Dude, Cody Brown's intro does ollie up, front heel switch Manny. Lady almost gets in the way of the clip, but you can still see it perfectly. Actually, Spencer Hamilton also did that too. He does kickflip up and then front heel switch Manny's it as well. I want to go back to what we were talking about, which is Cody Brown and how he absolutely obliterated this gap to Manny. In social withdrawal, frontside flip to fakie Manny. He does 180, fakie Manny, fakie frontside flip. Does front big spin to fakie Manny as well. And then the last trick in his part is the front heel to fakie Manny as well. That was crazy. And then he's also done other stuff too. Later on, he does front 180 to switch Manny, switch backside flip out. And he's also done switch varial flip to fakie Manny. And he also did switch varial flip to switch Manny as well. In Environment, Emmanuel Nanke, I think his name is, but he does a back heel switch Manny on it. Will Marshall also did back heel switch Manny in Slubbucks, and he also did switch varial heel to switch Manny too. That one was fucked. JD Robinson, he also did tray flip Manny. That was in Not a Bean. That's a OG video. Definitely check that one out if you haven't yet. John Pye, he did a really sick one. He does nollie big spin, switch Manny, front 180 out. Bailey Seeger, he did ollie up, backside flip, switch Manny 180, and so did John Koss. He also did that trick as well in the American Originals edit that Eric Valentic made. John has one of the most fucked up tricks on the spot for sure. He did Manny, frontside flip to switch Manny, and I believe that might take us into Bobby DeKaiser's trick. Might as well talk about it. He did Manny, backside flip to switch Manny. Bobby DeKaiser, he did inward heel flip manual in finesse. Nollie big spin switch Manny, and he did front 180 fakie Manny, fakie front shove out in Slubbuck. In Off the Grid, Bobby DeKaiser did switch front shove, switch Manny. Paul Iliani and him both did a few tricks on that one. Bobby DeKaiser does pop shove Manny, ollie to Manny, front shove out. Bobby did switch nose Manny, half cab Manny. Bobby DeKaiser does switch nose Manny to switch nose Manny in it as well. He does Manny, front side 180 to fakie Manny, half cab out, like super backbreaker trick. Doug Vickery, RIP, he did ollie up, 180 to switch Manny, back 180 out. Nick Tucker might have the best trick of all time. I can't put him in the top 3, but in terms of just single trick, inward heel flip manual, ollie to nose manual, nollie inward heel flip out in the primitive Opal video, which is so fucked. Like, how are you just gonna come here for a Toronto like tour and just completely shut down the spot in one trick? Jay Brown, he did Manny, kickflip Manny over the gap in Pro Drum. He also did front 180 out, which might have been in social withdrawal. Dude, Jay Brown did half cab Manny, back 180 to switch Manny on it. That's fucked up. And then I know he also did back 360 manual, back 180 out. Shout out to Nick Genova. He actually sent a lot of the clips in as well. Pat O'Rourke did heel flip Manny to Manny, front 180 out in social withdrawal. Fistful of Loonies, Pat O'Rourke also does Manny, no comply front shove to Manny. Billy Jackson, he does heel flip Manny to Manny, front shove out. Justin David, in Most Things Haven't Worked Out by Devin Guinea, did big spin switch Manny. Charles Deschamps, 3-shove Manny in finesse, or impossible Manny, whatever you want to call it. Mike Tatarski did switch back heel Manny in finesse. Mark Colhoun, he did Manny kickflip to nose Manny in Slubbucks, and he did tray flip Manny 180 in Dougstale as well. Jesse Mullins, he did back 180 fakie Manny, fakie big spin out. In Not That Serious, filmed by Daria Dale, Shaggy, he fucking killed it. He did some crazy shit that I can't even tell you the name of, but he did some shit. In Top Floor, Scott Burkowski, he does half cab up, then bean plant to nose Manny half cab. It's actually his ender in that video. Beaster, he also did kickflip Manny to Manny, and then sex change out, body burial out. Matt Berger did big spin switch Manny, front 180 out in Dougstale. Switching it up, Jeff Smith, he does fakey big spin Manny on it, and his like front foot is like dangling off so much, but it's super stylish. I like that one. Switch takeover, Colin Passy, switch front side flip Manny, back 180 out. In Club Gear, Observing the Earth, Evan Hank. Switch backside flip Manny did, that's sick. Eric Dowsell in Ripplescape, Pyramid Country video, he did switch backside flip Manny on it as well. In that same video, Chase McIntyre does big spin fakie Manny. Dave Ernerger, in that same Ripplescape video, does switch 180 nose Manny nollie big spin on it. If you made it this far, I mean, first of all, hit the like button. It does help us out a whole bunch, and honestly, we are moving our way into the nighttime hours here, so thank you guys so much for sticking around and watching this far. And I know this is a longer video, but this is the season finale, and I can't wait to get into Path, man, and be warm again. Paul Iliani, he does varial heel flip nose Manny in a Skaters Inc. montage. That one's actually insane. I know in Off the Grid, he also does like a power ollie backside flip to switch Manny on it. In Video X, Green Apple, he does big spin fakie Manny. And he also front 180 fakie Manny fakie flipped it. That one was an Oscar material. He does nose Manny to nose Manny. I think Jimmy Cow on Skate Mafia might have also done that. I was trying to find the clip. My memory says that he did do that, but I wasn't able to find it. But still, shout out to Jimmy Cow. Paul Iliani, back to him. He also did backside flip fakie Manny. Dave Hanatiuk, he did half cab up, back heel, switch Manny, front 180 out. Dallas Ives, he did varial heel flip Manny 180 out, same as Joel Scullard. Enlisted, Chris Satinas, he did front side flip switch Manny. Jake Young, he did pressure flip Manny on it. Jonathan Daw, he did front shove Manny 180, and I actually also did a line with that trick too. I did nose grind 180 on the ledge, came around, did fakie front 180, and then ollie up, front shove Manny 180 out. I did a line with Daniel Policelli as well, where I did kickflip Manny on this Manny pad that we're standing on, and then came around, and then I did ollie up, front 180 fakie Manny front shove. Justin Shore, dude, this trick is insane. He like nose bashes his nose like into the thing here and then pops up to nose Manny, and like that physically makes no sense. Like that's one of my favorite tricks here. I love that one. Do it for a Charleston, Colin Passy. He also did varial flip manual, and he also switch flip Manny did too. Louis Lopez, he skated this as well. He did Manny, varial flip to Manny. I don't think that footage ever came out, but shout out to Policelli for setting that one in. In Respect, he does no comply 180 revert manual. Matt Bajkar, what the fuck? Okay, his board is like set up there, and he just like runs and jumps this whole fucking Manny pad in the gap and lands on it. I don't know how he did that because there's like a big hole, and the crack in the ground. Maybe he did it there, but that shit was insane. OG 2000, Dylan Barnes, he did impossible nose manny on this thing.
I jump right through your window when you...
Tyler O'Grady, one of my favorite tricks to go down on the spot. He does ollie up, then nollie big heel, switch mannied it. TJ's got some fucked up clips here too. Nollie shove manny, front 180 to switch manny, front 180 out, full back breaker. Fakey big spin mannied it, back 180 out in his AVP part, slash his blind part in 2011. Nollie shove manny to nose manny, backside shove it out in his mag minute. In his homecoming part, he does kickflip manny, front 180 to switch manny, switch heel out. That's insane. In waiting, he does nollie heel flip manual, front 180 to switch manual, switch back 180 out. In STJIF, switch heels up and then switch tray, switch manny. And like going back to what Mike Crook was saying about like doing the trick up, and then like it just adds such another level of difficulty to an already insane trick. On those little tiny skate mafia boards, he tray flip mannied it on that little thing. I don't know how. So that's it for the gap to manny, but then right here is a gap to ledge. So there's a bunch of tricks that have gone down on this thing. One that I can think of would be Aiden Johnston. He did backlip shove on it pretty recently. But then I know Mike Crook coming back in actually has a story about Lee Saunders.
Yeah, so Windsor Lee, he backflipped this thing like every day. He would like come here and just like skate it like nothing. His style was just so cool, like it was very Philadelphia.
TJ Rogers, he did heel flip back 5-0 on it. Cody Brown, he did front 180 nose grind, and Erin Lester actually did that as well in her sci-fi fantasy part. There's also an alley-oop 180 nose grind on it as well. That one was wild. Adam Mancini did back 180 nose grind. Will Cristofaro and Mucho Mango does lip slide, big spin out. In WFH, Mason Palace does frontside nose blunt on it. Shay Lamont, he did a gap nose grind on it as well. Zach Bird, I know he gap front nose grinded as well. Sam O'Connor, he did gap front tail on it. There was a nose grind 180 in Dweeb by Chris Marlowe. Wojtek, he did like a gap to like a booger blunt slide. Like he didn't actually hit the ledge. Pretty gnarly. Willie Levine, he did kickback 5-0 on it, and it's like the fastest grind. He must have been fucking flying at it. In Doldrums, Griffin Kirby did backside nose blunt on it, filmed by Dan Everson. In wading, Ben Patterson, he did kickback nose blunt on it to fakie. That might be the best trick, in my opinion, to go down. Ryan filmed some stuff here as well that he's gonna get into, but it's actually gonna lead us into like a lot of the ledge lines that have gone down.
Dwayne Anderson Jr., he did gap to nose blunt, and then he came around and like kind of carved around, did the sickest kickback tail, and goes to fakie. And just the way that he reverts the going to fake, like it was great. I loved it. That's probably one of my favorite clips I've ever filmed. He does like the sickest switch heel. And then I also filmed Jake Borchenko, and he did back nose grind 180, and this was for his OCD part, and then half cab flip in the middle, and then back 180 nose grind shove. He did it on the curve ledge over there, and that was super sick.
But I'm cashing checks with on this.
Daniel Spreel, he did nose grind, front nose grind pop out, does the 3-flip on flat, comes around and does, I believe it was back tail shove on that ledge right there.
Too many wavy women.
Rylan Shaver, I believe it was his opener, and he does half cab nose to fakie on that, carves around, and does the sickest fakie back tail big spin. And then another person who did that same trick was Chris Koyonis. He did the fakie back tail big spin. So this is a funny story. Originally came here with Jake Borchenko to shoot a photo for Wordzine. I came here and I wanted to do back nose grind pop out. Jake had like a film camera, so like you can only get a certain amount of tries using those types of cameras, otherwise you're gonna waste all the film. So I had a couple tries and I ended up getting a good photo, and then I wanted to film it as well. The first try, I locked in the back blunt. I don't know how I did that, but I locked in the back blunt, and I just remember like face first. This side of the ledge, it used to get skated in the 90s, early 2000s, but then it stopped. But it wasn't until recently that it was skatable again. And I was able to film Francois Hero do front nose blunt. But then bringing it back, I want to talk about Ariel Stagney. He does forward flip on flat. Interesting first trick. Comes and does front blunt to fakie. And there's like some girl, she's just sitting there. I don't even think he knows her. She's just sitting there and she's eating her food, and he literally just like sits with her while she's eating, like in the clip. 66 tapes later, don't know the guy's name, unfortunately, but he did switch front 360 on flat, fakie flip on flat, and then switch front tail on this ledge here.
Say this man was the greatest man. When shoelace.
Johnny Tang in switch volume 1. He does backside flip on flat, then he comes around, does switch heel, and then does a front lip to 5-0 on this ledge. This clip specifically stands out for me. I always think of CBC is Kevin Teo. He does half cab flip on flat, and he does kickback Smith on this one. That was in the American Originals video, Toronto. Tyler Mayer does backside flip on flat, switch 180, and then goes to that marble ledge over there and does nollie lip. And that was in the True Skateboards countdown. Jamie Johnny, backside lip slide, nollie backside flip, and then switch tray on flat, and then like rolls off into the sidewalk.
Taking it back to Dwayne Anderson Jr., recent Instagram, does front blunt big spin on it. It might have actually been in the line, but I think they cut it and just posted just the front blunt big spin for it. Fabian Paisley does crook on this ledge, pop out. He does back lip 270 on that ledge. Fabian Paisley also does kickflip nose manny on this one to start a line. Goes around, pretty sure there's a nollie flip on flat. And I remember this edit. This is one of my, it's like the second song of his part by Chris McMaster. But just so epic. He does a heel flip nose slide, big spin out.
Place where the forgotten art is so powerful. Striking images.
Fabian did front lip on the marble edge, then does nollie nose slide, nollie heel in top floor. Aaron Jones does backside nose grind 180, and then he comes around, he does a little turn, a little revert, comes around and then does a back 180, fakie 5-0, front shove out. And I think that was in Juice as well by Thomas Morrison. Definitely check out these videos, guys. They're all linked in the description below. Without these videos wouldn't even be possible. So definitely if you want to go check out everything, like we miss tricks, but if you go check out all those videos and the links, you'll see everything, man. Paul Liliani, setting up those trash cans off that drop, he does front shove over it. No flat trick, but he does backside 180, fakie 5-0 to regular, and then does like just blasts a nollie heel on flat after. JP Grenier, he does frontside 180 nose grind, switch backside big spin out. Perfect, like such a rare trick, but I love that one. That one's sick. Robbie Falcone, he did fakie flip on flat, then switch back 180 5-0 in Young Bucks. In All City Showdown 2016, Nico Lab, he does back tail, then nollie tray flip on flat, then does a nose grind pop out. Warren Nugent did kickback tail, then like front shove body varial to fakie. Jordan Bandula does kickflip nose manual on the mani pad, and then comes around, does a nollie flip on flat, and then I was really stoked on this line actually. And this was in Slice Life. He ends his line with a back tail front shove out. Shout out Travis Stanger, shout out Jordan Bandula, of course, but like that trick always reminds me of like Travis Stanger. Like I was saying, single tricks, he does pop shove nose grind, nollie shove out. Jesse Tessier, he did fakie big flip on flat, and then front 180 fakie 5-0, takes it to fakie. Zach Ferguson, he frontside tail slides the marble ledge, does a tray flip on flat, and then does kickflip crook, and that's in the front section of Slub Bucks. He was pretty young then, he was probably like 16 at that time. Mark Colhoun does nollie heel flip on flat, and then does front tail frontside flip as well on this ledge here. Mark also did tray flip manny on the gap to manny, does no comply 180 on flat, then switch heel front nose in Doug's tail with the best song, like Moonlight Desires, big fan. John Pye, he's got some sick tricks at this spot, that's for sure. Does crook 180 on the marble edge, then does, it's a little sketchy, but we'll give it to him, man. He did a half cab no slide, 270 heel flip out. I haven't seen anybody else do that trick at this spot, so it's sick to see him pull that one off. Griffin Kirby, man, he like wallies it and then goes to back nose bunt and pops out to regular in contact high. Donovan Jones, shout out to the Bunt Live. He switched nose grind 180s this ledge here, and then comes around and does frontside 180, fakie 5-0, half cab out in Stuck Up Kids. Jacob Williams starts a line from the road. First time I've ever actually seen anybody do this. He does kickflip up the curb, and then does a nollie front heel on flat, then comes all the way around here, ends his line with a switch heel back 5-0, also in the Drift Stuck Up Kids video. Kong does ride on 50 on a bike rack. I'm pretty sure there's a latchkey edit that he does it on, and then does a backside 5-0, front 180 out. And then he ends the line with a flat trick, does switch front big spin. Pat O'Rourke, he does nose bonk, and then does 5-0, backside hurricane, and then does a backside 360. Wade Power, he does wally over on the far pillar over there, comes around, and then does big spin backside board slide on the ledge, ends his line with a varial heel flip on flat. Austin Marchand, he does a line that I actually filmed. He does Wally 180 on the ledge over there, comes around, does a fakie flip on flat, and then does a half cab heel flip nose slide on the ledge here. Then finishes his line with a backside 180 on flat, and then ends it with a switch heel. Ian St. Aubin does ollie onto the far ledge, goes around and does nollie flip on flat, and then does kickback tail to fakie. Will Fillion does half cab crook on the ledge, and then he does a backside tail slide, big spin out, and then ends it with a switch heel on flat. Chad Wilson, he does a wally, nollie heel on flat, and then does nose grind, big spin out. And Jake Porchenko also did a very similar line as well, where he does frontside tail slide, and then he does a frontside nose grind, big spin out, and then ends his line with a switch heel on flat.
Chris Satinas, he did back tail 3 shove on this, on that ledge right there, and then he also did front nose nollie heel on this ledge here. Chris Shannon also did frontside tail slide to regular, and then did front nose slide, big spin out. Chris Shannon also did switch crook 180, and then comes around and does nollie shove, nose grind 180, and that was in Vic 2.0. And then Lucas Franklin, Lulu Frank, shout out Lucas. He did a switch 5.0 on this ledge here, big spin out, and that was on his Instagram. That was sick. Shout out Cole Hacker, Cole Hacks. He did back 1 nose grind, revert, and then back blunt on the marble ledge, pop out, and that was a sick line. Colin Lee, and this was in the Always Rollin' video, also by Chris McMaster. He did 3 flip on flat. If you want to call it a board slide 3 shove, you can call it that. Super sick line by Colin Lee. And what's a spot history video without shouting out the host himself, Behan? We forgot to mention it, but he did half cab flip manual on the long pad as well. You can find that in some of his, oh, a mouse. Oh! Yeah. Wow.
In Perception Rolling Deep, they had set up like these tables. It's kind of like in the credits section of the video. They kind of set up these tables here, and they're just doing like, you know, ollie up and then kind of set them up as kickers, and then like ollieing to flat. I think there was a kick flip to flat as well. Thomas Morrison ollied from flat, from brick to brick. That's massive. We should have had Mike Crook's measuring tape for this one. I gotta give a shout out to an old friend of mine who's no longer with us, Shad Petus. He set up a bike rack on the mani pad here. He no comply pole jammed it. Shout out to Shad. Carlos Ribeiro on a Primitive Canada Tour 2016, half cab crook 180 out on the marble ledge, and then does like the most backbreaker switch back 180 to 5.0 or nose grind, whatever you want to call it, 180 out. You got Tanner Lawler, who does a backside nose grind shove out on the marble ledge, and then ends his line with a fakie backside tail slide, fakie big flip out. Austin Haleman, he does frontside tail slide to switch crook, pop out to fakie, comes around, and then does full cab backside nose blunt to fakie as well. And I don't think that was actually used. Daniel Policelli filmed that one. Ben Patterson, he does ollie up, 180 switch manis. I don't know if he touched on the mani or not. I'm not trying to whack him right now, but he might have touched. And then does fakie flip crook on this ledge, and that was absolutely perfect. And then he does a switch front heel on flat right afterwards, no push and proper. He also did back lip to switch front crook on the marble ledge over there. And then he comes around, he ollies up, and then does gap to back nose blunt. And this actually plays just before the kickback nose blunt as well, which we already mentioned earlier. Ben does switch flip on flat, and then does a pretty weird one that you don't see too often, but he does switch back 180, 5.0, 180 out. Wade Desarmo, he's got some really sick lines here as well. He does switch front tail, switch front heel out, and then he does nollie inward heel front nose on this ledge here. And that's in his Thunder Trucks part. I think that's his most recent one. It's posted on his own YouTube channel as well. Sick to see him do that. In an S Shoes ad, he does switch front tail, then a nollie heel flip frontside nose slide, which was like a more chill line for him. I feel like that was almost like the warm-up line to the next one that he ended up doing in his Thunder Trucks part. Although they were very spaced apart in the years, it's almost like the stepping stones, you know what I mean? He does front blunt pop out on the marble edge over there, the curved one. And then he does a nollie flip frontside nose slide on this ledge. And that's in the Grand Collection part that he put out. Wade, he does front tail, front shove, then does big flip front nose on this ledge here in the Primitive Testing 4 video. TJ Rogers, he did a line here where he does fakie 5.0 half cab on this ledge, and then this was actually in his most recent part in Toronto, Then he comes around and does nollie inward heel, frontside nose slide on the ledge. And that was filmed by Jordan Moss. He does ollie up, backside 180 to switch Manny, and then he comes around and then does switch back tail, frontside 270 out on this end ledge over here in Scotty's Store Wars. Unfortunately, that edit's not online anymore, but shout out to Wade Power, we got it. He does a nollie backside flip on flat, and then comes around and does fake heel flip nose grind on this ledge here. With the best song, like the Night of the Vampire song was one of my favorite edits by Wade. He also does switch heel front 5-0 on the ledge, and there's like 4 different angles of it. One of them's actually a GoPro taped to the bottom of his board, and you can actually see like from the underneath perspective of it, of the switch heel going into the 5-0 and landing. He also nollie flip nose slid the ledge on the little Skate Mafia board as well. He does switch back tail big spin on the marble ledge over there, and he's just cooking, like going so fast. And then he does nollie shove nose grind 180 out. John motherfucking Koss, he's got some tricks at this spot. What hasn't he done? John does backside tail slide, backside flip on flat, and then comes around and then does a half cab nose slide and nollie heel flip out and state your name. He does nollie front nose on this ledge, and then on the marble ledge he does backside lip slide to like sugarcane, and that's in his Thief Trucks part. He does backside nose grind shove pop out on the curved marble ledge over there, little front shove on flat, and then does a backside 180 fakie 5-0 in his transworld part. Does a frontside flip on flat right here, then comes around to this ledge and does like the fakie frontside 180 to like 5-0 or nose grind, whatever you want to call it. John does a switch nose grind, pop out 180, like half cab, and then comes around and then does heel flip backside nose grind 180, and it's like the most flawless heel flip back nose grind. Like the 180 out especially is like the most flawless part of that line. I really was a big fan of that one. He does a half cab crook 180 on the marble ledge, then does switch back 5-0, front 180 out. Over there he does a heel flip backside tail slide. Tray flip on flat, wally back 50-50s the marble ledge, and then comes around here and then hits this ledge, does nollie backside nose grind, big spin out. Backside nose grind 180 out, pop out on the ledge over there, the marble one. And then he comes around and does switch front shove, nose grind 180 out, and then does a hard flip on flat after, and then does like a nollie frontside 180 nose grind 180 out. On Instagram, there's a sick clip of TJ and John where they skate this ledge and do nollie heel flip nose slide and nollie flip nose slide, but they're like right behind each other when they both do it. Another clip of John on Instagram would be nollie frontside heel flip to switch 5-0 or nose grind, whatever you want to call it. Whatever makes you happy, whatever makes you sleep at night. He does that on this ledge here. It's perf. Bobby DeKaiser, he does fakie 5-0 half cab, like pop out in the middle, comes around and then does a kick front nose grind on the left side ledge over here. And then he keeps going and does like the best backside nose one pop out on it on the marble ledge over there too. That was in his habitat part. In his BTL part, he does manual, frontside 180 to switch manual, frontside 180 out, comes around and then does a backside 180 to fakie 5-0, front 180 out, and then does back 360 on flat, keeps going after that, and then does a frontside flip on flat as well over by those trash cans down there. Quasi HD 2.4, he does a super long back tail on that marble ledge, comes around and then does a frontside flip to switch Manny on the manual pad and like cuts through, doesn't do the whole thing, cuts through it, goes around some more and then ends it off with a fakie flip backside 5-0. And then on this ledge again, he does a fakie back tail to fakie, like popped out, like the sound on the audio, that clip is crisp, I love it. And then he comes around and then does a fakie backside 5-0, fakie frontside flip out. I'm pretty sure that's his ender in Grand Prairie. Morgan Smith, he's done an insane amount of lines here as well. I know like just killing it like the Sunday Fun Days and filming with Thomas Morrison a lot. He does nollie 180, switch crook 180 out, and then does backside 180 nose grind 180 out on the ledge over there. He has a line where he starts off down like underneath these pillars here in the building area and does a nollie frontside flip on flat, switch front tail on the ledge here, and then hits the next ledge immediately after with a kickback tail. And then he keeps going after that and does a nollie back heel, and then ends it off with a switch tray. He also does switch frontside tail slide, back to switch, and then fakie frontside half cab flip to tail slide as well on the end ledge there. That was in social withdrawal. He does nollie 180 off that drop that we were talking about earlier. Comes around, does switch front blunt, and then switch trays on flat. That was in a T-Dot edit, which was, I don't know if that was actually a Sunday Fun Day or not. It might have been a Sunday Fun Day though. He does a line where he does a switch front blunt to regular, and then a nollie front crook on the marble ledge over there. And he's planning on to keep going with his line, but I think while he's pushing, he kicks Thomas's lens, and they're just like, no! It's just a funny clip. He does another line as well, where he ollies up onto the mani pad, gaps the mani pad, like the manual part, does gap to front tail, and then he keeps going, and then does a nollie flip on flat, and then ends off his line here on this ledge with a kickflip backside nose grind 180 out.
1, 2, 3.
In a Sunday Funday, he does fakie backside 5-0 180 out, and then comes around, he does a tray flip on flat, and then he does nollie 180 5-0 180 out. He does like a slappy front nose. I guess it would be like a 450 out. If it's more than 270, it's like an extra 180 on top of it. Morgan has another Instagram post where he just shuts down these ledges. He does kick front crook, fakie flip crook on it, switch flip back tails it. He does fakie pop shove 5-0 180 on that one, and switch heel tail slide. It might have been a switch heel 5-0 180, but I think he was intending on doing switch heel front tail. In Morgan's most recent YouTube video, he does nollie heel back nose grind 180, switch heel tail 270, and nollie heel front nose big spin. Also, in a Blind Damn Sundays video, he does nollie front crook to fakie on the marble ledge, then does switch flip back tail front shove out. Juice by Thomas Morrison. Pretty new video actually. It came out like the end of last year, early this year. He does fakie backside nose grind 180 out, and then he goes all the way onto the ledge here and does like the best nollie heel front crook to fakie out that I've ever seen. Like, it's very flowy, like he gets in and just almost like Skater XL looking. It was perfect.
All right, so we were originally not going to do this because we didn't have a way in. When I first came to check the doors, I checked all of them, they're all locked. We are currently in CBC Broadcasting Center. We're walking towards the 7th stair here. One thing that I really loved about this set specifically was the cushiony like carpet. So even if you like roll away, you have like padding. But I was trying heel flip. Security guard comes down, I don't know where he came from, but comes down and I just kept dodging him and ducking him. Caution floors wet sign. He basically takes it, he throws it at me as I'm like mid roll up. That was just pretty funny. It kind of shows the bust factor of this spot. The movie called The Man from Toronto, featuring Kevin Hart and Woody Harrelson. There's like a fight scene and they're like going through like each of these floors. One person that I could think of who skates this spot is Noah T. He did switch front shove on this. He also did switch tray. Seifa, he actually did a line, which is pretty sick. He did heel flip on flat and then nollie back 180. Seifa also did switch pop shove on this and nollie heel flip.
Yeah, we used to come here like obviously in the winter time, skating like those path nights, path missions. Even though this isn't technically path, it does connect to it. I remember watching one session go down where I was here. Mitch Donovan, he nollie back heeled it first try. We were tripping on it because I've never even seen him nollie back heel anything before at that point yet. I can't remember if that was the exact night where we got chased out by security. And this is one of the times we got chased out. Speaking of nollie back heels, we also got to mention Warren Unjins because he did that trick as well. And it's the ender of like the CBC 7 section of the path montage that Bass Motion made. And in that video, you can also find Cody Brown doing like a nollie 180 on it. Aiden Johnston, he did fakie heel flip on it. And especially just the music that Bass was using in those edits as well, like it really gave you a vibe. And that's the kind of vibe that we're gonna bring into those path videos going forward when we're doing the spot history. Seifa Benson, in his environment part, he also did nollie frontside flip on it. And I think Blinger nollie heeled it as well. CBC 7, man, it's fucking sick. That's gonna wrap it up for the season finale of Classic Toronto Skate Spots. We really appreciate you guys watching these things and liking the video, subscribing to the channel as we've gone for the last 5.5, 6 months now. When we first started this, I did not expect it to get to the reach that it has gotten to. So thank you everybody for supporting the channel. It means a lot. We're gonna be doing some live streams coming up on this channel as well. Even though this is the season finale, we are gonna be working our way directly into the next season, which is the winter season. We're not gonna be taking a break. We're gonna go directly into talking about the path, as well as the subway spots and York University as well. So stay tuned for that. I think those episodes are gonna be some of the more insane ones because it's not something that most people around the world are used to, is seeing a lot of indoor spots. So I'm pretty excited to go check those out. Probably gonna get kicked out any second, but I appreciate it. We'll see you in the next season. Peace.